Hey, everybody, this is Jack Hammer of the Santa Rosa Press Democrat reporting to you live from Levi Stadium, where tonight the 49ers opened their 2022 preseason slate with a 28-21 victory over the Green Bay Packers. Wanted to come on and give you some of my observations from tonight's game, and we're going to start off with Trey Lance. The performance from Trey Lance tonight was everything that you'd want to see from your starting quarterback. In two series of action, Lance showed poise in the pocket, used his legs when necessary, and was on the money with his throws. The 49ers' new signal caller completed 4 or 5 pass attempts for 92 yards, 1 touchdown, and had 1 run for 7 yards. The highlight of Lance's night came when he hit Danny Gray down the left sideline for a 76-yard touchdown strike. He put the ball right on the money so the receiver didn't need to break stride, and Gray did the rest, outrunning the Packers' defense at the end zone. The only hiccup in Lance's performance came on his lone incompletion. Lance has struggled to hit that deep out route throughout training camp. They tried to do it again tonight on a third down, and he missed Gray wide to the right. It was just a little bit out in front of the receiver. He was able to get his hands on the ball, but it was just a little bit out in front, kind of let him out of bounds. That was the only hiccup, and that one wasn't even one of the bad throws really that we've seen from Lance, because Gray was able to get his hands on the ball. So if you're going to say there was any kind of hiccup, that would have been it. But really, for the most part, it was pretty flawless. 4 or 5 for 92 yards, the touchdown throw, moving the ball with his legs when necessary, his ability to avoid pressure and all those types of things. It was a really solid start for Lance. Really looking forward to seeing what he puts together next week in Minnesota. Most of that's going to be coming during the practices that they'll be having with the Vikings on Wednesday and Thursday. Unfortunately, I won't be there for that, but I'll be following along with all of you, trying to gather as much information as possible and bring you all the highlights of that. Danny Gray is up next. The 49ers chose the SMU product to add speed to the outside. The expectation met reality tonight on their second possession of the game when Gray got behind the Packers defense. Gray is a very confident young man. Talked about it after the game, how he doesn't feel like there's anybody that can cover him, especially when he sees the safety come down on him. As soon as he saw that tonight, he felt like he was going to be able to beat that coverage, and Lance was going to hit him. And that's exactly what happened. Lance put the ball right on him, laid it out in front of him. Gray was able to streak down there, catch it, and electrified the Levi Stadium crowd with a big gain. And Gray wasn't done there. A couple series later, it was the 49ers' final possession of the first half. He went over the middle. Nate Sutfeld drilled it into him, and they were able to convert on 3rd and 13. So a really solid performance from Danny Gray. 2 catches, 99 yards, and a touchdown. Has a lot of confidence and swagger about him. He's somewhat quiet, but at the same time, there's a quiet confidence because when you ask him about his ability, he's not afraid to tell you how good he is. And that's not a bad thing, especially out of a wide receiver in the NFL. On the other side of the ball, another rookie that stood out tonight. There's a few of them that we're going to talk about here real quick. Samuel Womack. I've been talking about Womack and his coverage going back to right after the 49ers drafted him, and we talked about it in the draft breakdowns. But, he showed that tonight in his coverage game. The 5th-round draft pick came with 2 interceptions in the first half. The first interception was a really nice play over here on the left sidelines. It was a pass to Romeo Doubs. The two came together. Womack took the ball away from him as the 2 went to the ground. Review showed that he had it before, had taken the ball away, and it was an interception. Fantastic play by Womack, showing first off the ability to be tight in coverage on that route. Secondly, his ability to be aggressive and take the ball away. And then a couple series later, they tried to go after Womack again, this time with Amari Rodgers on a route over the middle. Womack stepped right in front of that, picked it off, and took it back the other way, 57 yards, to set up a 49er score. Really nice job there by Womack as well. After the game, he talked about the fact that this is a play that he has seen the 49ers run over and over and over again out on the practice field here, just across the way from Levi Stadium throughout training camp and during this short period of time at the 49ers. So he's been a fast learner. He understood the route that was coming to it. He was right there with the veteran wideout, the second-year receiver Rodgers, and he was able to step in front of that, make the pick. 2 electrifying plays for a rookie. You can't really script it any better. As I've been saying, with Womack, when it comes to pass coverage and coverage ability, he is the 49ers' best cover guy from the slot. The only question is his ability to play in the run game, and that wasn't a big issue tonight, at least in the little bit that he was in there. Something to definitely monitor as we go forward, but I would not be shocked to see seeing Womack moving into the starting lineup sooner rather than later for the 49ers in the slot. Another rookie that had a big night tonight. This isn't one that was drafted at all. He's an undrafted rookie free agent. And it's linebacker Marcelino Mercari-Ball. This guy just flies around the field all the time. When you watch him in training camp, he's all around the ball all the time. Out here tonight, he was around the ball. This time, it was on a pass over to the right side. The quarterback threw it in there. The receiver could not hold on to the ball. And as the ball's getting to the receiver, he's getting hit by, you had, I believe it was Deommodore Lenoir on one side, and you had Talanoa Hufanga coming from the middle. The ball bounces up in the air. Mercari-Ball is right there to snatch it out of the air and take it back the other way for a long interception return that set up the 49ers offense. And that was right at the end of the first quarter. So the pick leads me into what I want to talk about next, which is Nate Sutfeld. Nate Sutfeld, that interception set him up with the ball at the 39-yard line. Sutfeld comes right back the very first play that he's in, and he finds Ray Mcleod deep down the middle on a deep post for a gain of 39 yards as a touchdown. Nobody around the receiver, hit him right in stride. The career backup has been efficient throughout training camp. Tonight was no different. Sutfeld finished 8 of 11 for 103 yards and the touchdown to McLeod. Sutfeld is who he is. Trey Lance is going to be the explosive playmaker, ability to do multiple different things. Sutfeld a little more measured in his approach. That's partly why you see the completion percentage of 8 and 11. If you go through training camp, Sutfeld has a pretty high completion percentage there as well. But an overall a good night for Sutfeld as in his first time as a backup here with the 49ers. Taking a look really quick over at your comments, just want to see if there was anything in particular. We got Roger James says, "Let's go, Jack." Andrew says, "What's up, Jack? I love the 49ers, but I hate preseason. The preseason's fun, at least tonight, because we got to see guys like what Roger says right here: Gray, Womack, Purdy. There was not a Purdy's first pass wasn't pretty, but his last pass, the touchdown, that was a really pretty one. He had a couple of nice plays. He doesn't have the strongest arm, but he gets the ball where it needs to get, and he's a solid third-round guy, or third quarterback, that type of thing." Brandon West wants to know if I'm pleased with Lance. I generally am, but the gimme to the sideline and the throw that almost went over the running back's head seems to be consistent with what we've been hearing from training camp. Yeah, no, I understand that, but you know what? When they're complete, it's okay. They're in a game situation. He was 4 or 5. The offense moved. The out to, like I said, I already hit on it. The out to Danny Gray. That's a route that he struggled with. They had actually Gray lined up a little more inside, so he wasn't quite so wide, but I think he might have rounded that route out a little bit too much to get him too fast to the sidelines. I think he needs to take that a little bit more up the field and cut it a little bit more tight so that it's not rounded so much, so it takes him a little bit longer to give, because by doing that, it would give Lance a little bit more room between the sidelines to hit it. So I think that has a little bit to do with it. John says 74 looks good. We're going to get into Spencer Burford because I disagree with that to an extent. He looks good, but I don't think he had some struggles tonight. And I think that's definitely one of the things that we need to get to. Peter says that the date and time on the video said tomorrow at 11 a.m. Hey, you know what? Here we are. I don't know. It's late, man. I almost had my write-up done. My computer pooped out on me, so I had to go back and redo it again. That's why I'm here so late. So it took me. I wrote my article for the Press Democrat 1.5 times tonight. So feel pretty good about what's going on. And NorCal 2225 says, if Zach Wilson's injury is serious, do you think Saleh would trade for Jimmy? I think so. I think it's a no-brainer for the Jets. If Zach Wilson's going to be down for the majority of the year, if they think they're going to have the ability to go out and have a strong season this year, go out and get Jimmy Garoppolo. Go get a guy that knows your system and can do what he's supposed to do, and let him get out there and get him on the next flight out to New York and have him become a member of the New York Jets. It's going to be between the Jets and the Browns, possibly, depending on what plays out. But let's get back to some great comments and questions. We'll get to some more of those in a minute. Ray Mcleod, primarily utilized underneath during his time in Pittsburgh, McLeod has demonstrated the ability to make plays at all levels of the field since joining the 49ers. Tonight, we saw it highlighted by the 39-yard touchdown strike from Nate Sutfeld that we just talked about, coming right into this end zone right here. Deep ball, right down the middle of the field, nobody around him. The DB kind of fell down. McLeod takes it in for a touchdown. Fantastic way to start off his time with the 49ers. He caught all 4 of his passes that came his way for 63 yards, but McLeod's night wasn't perfect. When you go back and you look at McLeod's history, he's had an issue of fumbles. Tonight, that happened, and it bit him again. He caught a pass over the middle from Nate Sutfeld, caught it, and as soon as he caught the ball, took a couple steps, he got hit by, I believe it was the safety. Starts to spin, the ball hits the ground, it's a turnover, and that's the 49ers' lone turnover of the night. They played a pretty mistake-free game, and it's normally the case in the NFL. If you don't turn the ball over, you have a much better chance of winning, especially when you're taking the ball away from your opponent 3 times and giving your offense really good field position like we saw them do tonight. Let's take a look at the interior offensive line. I said I was going to have a few words about Spencer Burford, and this is kind of the time to do it. So we knew coming in that Aaron Banks was going to be the left guard. Spencer Burford was going to be a right guard. Jake Brendel is the one who made the start tonight. He was replaced a little in the second quarter, about midway through the second quarter, by Daniel Brunskill, who played about a quarter, I guess. And while Brendel and Banks held up well in pass protection, from my vantage point up in the press box tonight, Burford seemed to struggle. He was beaten on multiple occasions, forcing the quarterback to move. On one occasion, Trey Lance was able to get away, scrambled for 7 yards. That was when Burford had given some. It was getting beat a little bit there, and he had to move. And then another time, Nate Sutfeld, he just wasn't so lucky. He had Burford got beat. Sutfeld tried to step up, and because of Burford getting beat, instead of being able to step straight up into the pocket and just go, Burford's guy forces him up into the pocket and to his right, and as he slides to his right, the guy that the tackle's blocking ends up making the sack. Just a tough deal there. I think, what I found interesting is that Spencer Burford was the only starting offensive lineman that took the field in the second half. Everybody else that started the game was out of the game by halftime. Burford came out after half, was in for the first series of the second half before being replaced by Jason Poe. Now, Jason Poe didn't make this write-up, but I should have put him in there, and I'll probably go back and add him at some point. But Jason Poe had a solid game. The first play that Jason Poe was in was a running play. He blocked down, and he just drove the guy out of the way. It was a nice run up the middle. He was solid throughout. He had a number of strong blocks in the run game. He held up well in pass protection. The one big mistake, though, that Poe made tonight was a false start. Got off the ball just a little too quick. Got called for a false start. That set the 49ers back in one possession that ended up resulting in a punt, and a lot of that had to do with the mistake on the offsides by Jason Poe on the false start. So, along the offensive line, we also had Mike McGlinchey. McGlinchey returned to the field for the first time since a quad tendon tear that ended his season last year. That injury taking place here at Levi Stadium. He looked a bit rusty. However, that's to be expected to an extent. After an extended layoff, it was good to see McGlinchey on the field. That shows that all that hard work, it's just a testament to that, the work that he put in to get himself back, and the plan that the 49ers strength and conditioning staff put together for him to be able to come out and play tonight. Well, I did not expect to see Mike McGlinchey on the field in the first preseason game. I think this is a sign that we won't see him in the game in Minnesota. He'll get his reps during the joint practices against the Vikings, but we won't see Mike McGlinchey on the field next Saturday night. Going back to the Garoppolo thing, Peter says Jets have Flacco. I don't think they'll need Jimmy as much as I want Jimmy gone. Well, Joe Flacco's a very good backup quarterback at this point. They'll probably try. Maybe they're going to try to ride with him. It's going to be interesting, but that would be a good landing spot for Jimmy Garoppolo. If the Jets feel like they can reach the playoffs this year, if everything breaks their way, go get Jimmy Garoppolo. Let him be your quarterback. Let him be the guy that takes you forward, because that he can win a lot of games for you. He knows the system. He can step in tomorrow and run the plays because it's all the same stuff that he's run here. Because all those offensive coaches are guys that worked here in San Francisco at one point in time. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Arkin, for the positive words over there. Are they still scraping that guy off the field that Hufanga hit? I think so. I heard him over there trying to get him off the 30-yard line. That was a heck of a hit there that Talon Hufanga put on after that run. We talked about Mike McGlinchey and him coming back from injury. A couple other guys coming back from injury tonight that I want to hit on. Javon Kinlaw, like McGlinchey, he's returning after surgery. Unlike McGlinchey had that the quad tendon deal with Kinlaw, it was about a knee reconstruction that sidelined him last season. I think Kinlaw is going to go a long way towards replacing DJ Jones in the middle of the Flyers defensive line. He was in there making the start tonight, just like McGlinchey. He was out there starting. I wasn't expecting to see Kinlaw in that role tonight, ready to go, but there he was, and he looked solid. There was a 1-1 play early on where I felt like he kind of slid a little too far inside instead of maintaining his gap integrity, which led to a big run, but the Flyers defense around him was able to step up and get the hold and stop him on third down for a nice stop. And then you had Tarvarius Moore. Moore's making his, just like those other two guys, coming back from an injury. Last year he was out the whole season after tearing his Achilles tendon during OTAs. But it was a struggle for him tonight. He was beaten he had some plays where he was tight in coverage, but he was beaten by rookie Romeo Dobbs for a 33-yard touchdown. Dobbs just ran the go route from the slot, and Moore couldn't keep up with him. He got beat. He was about 2 or 3 yards behind the receiver. Really wasn't close on that one. And, on that play in particular, it just didn't look like the burst that Moore had before his injury isn't there right now. That was a tough play for him, and it's something that, he struggled a couple of times in coverage. He had a couple of good plays in coverage, but he had a couple of bad plays, and the 33-yard touchdown is definitely a big negative play for Tarvarius Moore tonight. Working its way back, got a lot of reps. 49ers a little thin in the second at safety, and they also had Dante Johnson at one point in there, and I didn't put him on the list, but Dante Johnson struggled as well. He had one really nice play where he dropped in the coverage. The quarterback was rolling out. Things got covered, so he was able to go attack the quarterback and tackle him for a loss of 3. That was on a third down play that forced a 4th and 3, led to a missed field goal by the Packers. But Johnson struggled after that on a touchdown by Amari Rodgers. Missed the tackle. He missed a tackle on another play. It was a rough night for Dante Johnson after a good start. And then we get to the running backs. Ty Davis-Price was to me, I was a little disappointed with what we saw out of Davis-Price. This is a guy who, from everything that we've seen, is a physical runner. But tonight, didn't see that. It seemed when I was watching Davis-Price, with a couple of exceptions, he was dancing in the backfield. He'd get the ball, and he's going like this. He gets to the line of scrimmage, and he's going like that instead of just hitting it up in there. There was one play going this way, and he's running, and there's a hole, and instead of cutting up into the hole, he keeps going outside and gets tackled for a couple of yards instead of cutting up field and getting 4 or 5. Those are the kind of things I'm talking about. But there was a couple of times when he just went in there and he hit the hole. Those 2 times that he did it, he gained 10 yards and 9 yards. If he does that, he's good, but he's going to be good. He has the speed. He has the physicality. He just needs to understand in the NFL, you can't dance like you did in the SEC. It's a different game up here. Even though the SEC is kind of like minor league college NFL football, it's still not as fast as the NFL. They don't close on you quite as much, And then that takes me to JaMychal Hasty because while Price was dancing around, the smaller Hasty, he was hitting the line, the scrimmage with abandon. He just attacked the defense time and time again. It's funny because he's the smallest back on the 49ers team. They're running him in between the tackles. Tonight he did that 5 times. He picked up 36 yards. He looked really good carrying the ball, did JaMychal Hasty. I thought he had a really good night. Thought it was very solid. And then that brings us to Jordan Mason, the undrafted rookie free agent. When I look at Jordan Mason, I see a guy that looks like everything Kyle Shanahan wants in a running back, a guy that does everything moving downfield, moving forward. Mason didn't get into the game until the 4th quarter tonight, but his 6 carries for 30 yards were impressive. And I think he should get more touches next week in Minnesota. This is a guy, he's got some moves, but he doesn't overuse them. He's, like I said, it's cut and go. Everything is downfield with Jordan Mason. And he's a guy that I think if you're looking at it tonight, I felt like Jordan Mason had a much more impressive night than Ty Davis when it comes to the way that he ran the ball. I know that he wasn't playing, he was playing against the third, playing with the thirds, not with the seconds. But I think Mason deserves a shot to show what he can do against some better competition in the guy at the 2s, maybe even a little bit with the 1s, because I would like to see if he has that ability in him. Because from everything that I see, I think he does. I think he can hit the hole. He's working upfield all the time, and he's just strong in that way. talk a little bit about Trey Sermon as well. You look at Trey Sermon's night, he only has 11 yards on 6 carries, but it wasn't all on him. When you look at his numbers, he had some really good plays. The negative plays from Trey Sermon weren't really his fault. Those are really coming from missed blocks. Justin School getting blown up into the backfield and, allowing Sermon to get hit in the backfield. Let's face it, it's hard to be a runner when the defender blows your tackle into the backfield. And it wasn't just Justin School either. There was one play where it was Nick Zackel, the rookie left guard, just getting blown in the backfield. The back's going to the left side. That guy's getting blown back, and as soon as the back cuts up, the defender's able to release and make the tackle behind the line of scrimmage. So, Sermon's a guy who, all running backs, they need help. They need to have holes to be able to run in. They also have to have the vision to hit those holes. I think Sermon does. I just think that tonight's performance isn't indicative of quite the runner that he is. He's shown much more than that throughout training camp. Let's see what he does out in Minnesota, and let's see what he does in Houston before we write him off. And that brings us to our final two for the night. We're going to go into the secondary, and we're going to talk about a couple of the corners for the 49ers. Then I'll check over and see if we have some questions to hit on before I head out. It's almost 11:30 here, but Ambry Thomas, this poor guy, Ambry Thomas, he's struggled throughout training camp, and he just can't catch a break. Tonight, got called for holding on a deep ball. And then a little bit later on, he's in really nice coverage on a pass over the middle, gets his hand up there, knocks the ball, but the ball bounces up. He loses track of it. The receiver doesn't. He's still able to keep tracking the ball, and he comes down with the catch for a 15, 20-yard gain. So even when Ambry Thomas is in position to make plays and does make the play, it doesn't work out in his favor. And this is the guy the 49ers are, I think, going to need to have pick up his game, and they're going to have to – they might have to lean on him at some point because – Emmanuel Mosley hasn't shown the ability to make it through a 16-game season, let alone a 17-game season healthy. So there's going to be a point in time, I think, where you're going to need a guy like Ambry Thomas or Dominic or Lenore to step in and start for you. And, it's a little bit of a struggle for Thomas. He's really good when the play's in front of him, but when the ball's behind him, it's a struggle there. And then, tonight, starting opposite of Ambry Thomas was Kadar Holman. Holman's a journeyman cornerback. He's been, around the league, like I was talking about before the game. If you saw my saw me with Rob Shue over on his channel, we were talking about Kadar Holman. This is a guy who was originally drafted by the Packers in 2019. He was cut after 2020. Last season, he spent time with 3 different teams. The 49ers signed him this year. He made the start tonight opposite of Ambry Thomas. He had a really nice pass breakup on a deep out route from Jordan Love down the right side. But then a couple of plays later, they burned him for a touchdown. Going down that way on the right sideline, it's a deep ball. The guy's running a vertical route. Holman's on top of that vertical route. Love does a really good job throwing a back shoulder fade, throwing it to the back shoulder. Danny Davis, the wide receiver on the play, sees it, turns. Holman gets lost in space, keeps going, and loses track of him, and you get the touchdown from Davis for a 33-yard score to make it 20-14 at the end of the second quarter. So a tough go for both of the 49ers starting corners tonight, who are actually their backup corners. But I think when you go back and you look at this game overall, it was a pretty solid performance from the 49ers. A lot of rookies stood out. A couple of them have some things that they need to work on. Some of the veterans came out, I thought, again, hitting on it really quick. Going back to it, I do want to really quick hit again. I think the highlight of the night was the performance of Trey Lance, 4 or 5, 92 yards, a touchdown, a run for 7 yards. Really good performance, especially when you consider there was no Samuel, no Brandon Ayuk, no George Kittle, no Trent Williams, no Elijah Mitchell on the field with them. Pretty solid performance overall, I thought, for Trey Lance. I know he's not going against the best that Green Bay has to offer either, but it was a good start for him. That's the kind of start you want. And then for Danny Gray as well, he's had a rough camp. I've talked about it a number of times with Gray having kind of a rough camp. And so for him to come out and hit a 76-yarder early on, you can't really ask for a much better start than that. So congratulations to both those two, as well as Samuel Womack. So, that's 3 guys that I've talked about, Womack, Gray, and Trey Lance. 3 young 49ers who 2 of them are rookies. Another guy going to become a starter for the first time this year, full-time starter in Trey Lance. 49ers are in good hands with some young players that look really solid. That tells you a lot about their ability to draft and bring in talent. into this organization. So a big positive for the 49ers tonight. We'll see what happens next Wednesday and Thursday. Really got to pay attention to those practices out there. I didn't get Purdy in. I should have. Brock Purdy, I thought he had a solid night tonight too. You know, he had a bad play on his first throw. Wasn't quite what you'd want, but he came back after that, had a number of good throws, got him down the field, and was able to stick a ball in the end zone to Tanner Hudson. That was nice to see. Hudson is a guy that was with the 49ers last year and just, continued to grow. And then he had Keyshawn Johnson had just an amazing catch over in the back left corner of the end zone on a fade route there on a 2-point conversion. Purdy kind of did a little back shoulder deal there, and Johnson did a really good job to get up and snag that ball over the back of the defender for the 2-point conversion, put the 49ers up 28-21. So that was the final score tonight. 49ers 28, Packers 21. I'll be back most likely tomorrow. If not tomorrow, definitely Monday with more on the game. I'm not sure right now what the practice schedule is for this upcoming week. I'll let you all know that on the channel. I'll put an update there, but I want to say thanks to everybody. We have 76 people in here at 11:33 at night on the West Coast checking the show out. So I really appreciate it. And as Brian says, the special teams are looking good. Brian's the guy who always wants to know about special teams. Hey, how about those field goals tonight from Robbie Gould? He was drilling those suckers, so that was a good deal as well. So I just want to say thanks to everybody who joined the show tonight. I'll be back soon. If you guys, before you head out, if you guys can do me a favor, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and when you're done subscribing, go ahead and also hit the little bell notification so you get notified every time we go live. Be putting out a bunch of content over the next week. I know, like I said, I won't be in Minnesota, but I'll be following it along. I'll be putting out all kinds of information, and I'll probably also be putting together highlights of the clips that I got from the pregame on the field. Some of those are on my site as well. So thanks a lot, everybody. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and get yourselves over to 49ers.pressdemocrat.com. Check out the post-game write-up, and there'll be some more information there soon. Thank you all very much. Have a great rest of your night. Get to bed. It's almost midnight out here in the West Coast on a Friday night. So unless you're out at the bar having a good time, get to bed. Have a good night. Take care, everybody. It's always fun doing this. Talk to you soon.